It is week 8, and we are back. First time in a couple of weeks that we got the full band here. Me, Miz, and Dev. What's up, everybody? Welcome to yet another week of Your Fielder's Choice, NFL DFS live before kickoff. As I mentioned before, my name is John Moffa, joined always by Mike Mislinski and Devin Frank. What is going on, guys? Welcome to the official midway point of the season. How's it going?
Good, man. I still can't believe it's week 8. It's insane.
Yeah, man. Week 8, man. It's like, God damn, it's almost already over. Man,
I know it's sad. It's pretty soon. We're gonna be talking about Thanksgiving slates, and that's when things get a little crazy. You got the playoff teams that are on the bubble. Like, we're not too far away from those conversations, but we're not there yet. It's still, middle of the season. Still got a lot of time left. It's not even the official, I guess, halfway point because they added that extra week. But for all intents and purposes, it is, right? So let's cut to the chase. Let's get into it. But before we do that, please go over to yourfielderschoice.com and check us out if you haven't already. Got a lot of great content on there. We get covering NFL, NBA is picking back up, college basketball is coming back into the fold, NHL, all that stuff available to you. We got cheat sheets, live Discord conversations going on with Miz, Devin, and a bunch of other staff members who are just killing it this year. So head over to yourfielderschoice.com, and while you're at it, smash that like button at the bottom of your screen. Give us some love. That really would help us, and we'd appreciate it. All right. Let's jump right into it. We got, about 40 minutes here. We're going to try and get everybody done by noon, so you have plenty of time to enter those lineups. Miz, we will talk to you in a bit. Dev, let's jump into the cash lineups this week. What do we like at quarterback?
Yeah, so a lot like last week where we've got a little bit more, it's a little more open than those first 6 weeks, which were, pretty straightforward, very small player pool at each position. I still have a fairly small player pool, but definitely some decisions to be made today. So at quarterback, really you've got no Lamar on the slate, no Mahomes. So we're, some of the big boys aren't there. So our only big boy on the slate is Josh Allen, who of course has a great matchup against Miami. Second highest implied total of the day at 31 and just over 31. Miami's giving up 414 yards total offense to opposing teams, 29.6 points per game. Nothing wrong with Josh Allen. Personally, though, I'm going to be going right back to the guy we've talked about all season, and Jalen Hurts, though. Saved myself a couple $100, quite a bit on DraftKings. He comes in at 7.2, which is really underpriced. Jalen Hurts did it to us again, ended half with about 8 points, and he's still.
I was just about to say, if you have any heart problems, maybe don't play. You're going to be sweating it out all the way through to that 2-minute warning. He may very well have 8 points midway through the fourth quarter, but all of a sudden he blows up because the Eagles are usually losing, and then he's forced to run around and kind of pull some plays out of his ass. But go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, it's been tough. Like you said, it stresses you out, but he's been incredible. He has been the most consistent DFS quarterback all season long. You look at his log, it's 20 plus every single week. And it's because they don't have anything. He is their offense. They have very little run game. Now you got no Miles Sanders. He's their run game. He's their passing game, obviously. And he's had a good season. It's not pretty, but he's been good. And he gets a really good matchup against Detroit. Actually, one of his better matchups of the season. Even in 2 of the last 3 weeks, he had terrible matchups, and he still hit over that 20-point mark. So I really like Jalen Hurts here, especially on DraftKings at 7.2, gives you almost 1,000 savings off of Josh Allen. On FanDuel, it's a little bit more of a conversation. He's only 400 less than Josh Allen. So either way there makes sense. Outside of those guys, you got Stafford, who's been Mr. Consistent as well. Doesn't quite have the ceiling due to the lack of rushing upside. But again, he's been about 20 points a week as well. He's kind of the perfect mid-range play if that's where you fall. He's actually a little bit cheaper on FanDuel than the other two. And then, Tom Brady, of course, not the best matchup in the world for Tom Brady, but it hasn't really mattered this year. And then one other option I'm just going to mention, and then I'll let Miz touch on because I know it's one of his stacks. If you were to punt the position, go for value today, which I don't think in cash, I don't think we're going to see that ownership wise. But if you hated your lineup with the big boys, take a look at Teddy Bridgewater, just 5'4", on DraftKings. It's a Washington defense that's giving up 406 total yards per game, 30 actual points per game, and a slate high 28.8 DraftKings points per game to opposing quarterbacks. So I think Teddy has a real chance to hit, 20 plus DK points here. It's a risk, especially in cash. But I'll let Miz really dive into that with the GPP aspects of it. But that's really my quarterback groupings. I'm really looking at those top guys, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen being the two that I'm really most interested in.
Yeah, no doubt there. And if you are ballsy enough to play Teddy B and he does hit that 20-point mark, you are probably sitting pretty and can jam in some of these other guys that we're going to talk about shortly at the other positions. So speaking of which, let's roll right into it. Let's take a look at running backs. Is it Derrick Henry week or not?
Nope.
That seems to be the number one question at the start of every week. And then we just go from there.
Yep. He's just, and he's too expensive. 10-5 on FanDuel, 8-9 on DraftKings, which his price has actually come down a little bit. But the issue is, he like what he did last week wasn't going to be good. It wasn't good enough for his price. He gets an okay matchup. And really the main reason is because of some pricing discrepancies. DraftKings is really light on some running backs today. Pretty big discrepancy.
Running back is tough today, man. There's a lot of guys that have potential value, and you see them in the mid-price range in that $5,000-$6,000 range, but they're by no means locks.
Yeah.
It's guys that and you're gonna obviously you look at the board here. There's guys like a Kenneth Gainwell who is probably going to be chalky. You're probably convincing yourself that that's the play, but if he dudded, would anybody be surprised? It's Kenneth Gainwell. We don't know much about him yet,
Yeah. So I think where you can start today is Darrell Henderson. I mean, he was a dud last week for the first time all season, but he's been super consistent. So he's been super consistent minus last week, but he gets a really good matchup against Houston, who's giving up 145 yards per game on the ground. They're giving up nearly 30 points per game to opposing running back groups, which the nice thing about Henderson is he has really taken over that job. His snap share is really, really high. He's involved in the passing game. He's involved in the rushing game. It's a good way to get a piece of the highest total on the board. The Rams are at 31.5, very high total. And you don't really have to worry about the blowout, because if there is a blowout, then the game script's going to be in his favor. So right. I really like Darrell Henderson on both sites. I think he's going to be pretty popular. In all reality, he's underpriced for what he's done all season. And then from there, we got some decisions. We've got DeAndre Swift, comes in a nice spot against the Philadelphia defense that's given up 133 yards per game, over 30 points per game to opposing running back groups. Swift's been really involved in the passing game, which is nice. So gotta like DeAndre Swift. You've got, Cordero Patterson's not going to see much ownership, but he continues to be super consistent. James Robinson's one of those big time pricing discrepancy plays. He's nearly 2,000 cheaper on DraftKings than he is on FanDuel. It's 8-2 on FanDuel. He's just 6-6 on DraftKings. Really good matchup against the Seattle defense that's giving up 414 yards per game, including 134 on the ground. So you got this kind of mid-range, 6K. You got a couple options there. Chuba Hubbard as well. Again, another good matchup. And then we've got a couple value options in Kenneth Gainwell, who you mentioned, and Elijah Mitchell. Gainwell, the good thing about Gainwell here is the matchup. The matchup's really good. He's shown some elite speed. He's one of those guys that just pops off the screen to me when I'm watching. His quickness, I'm like, wow, that dude's quick. And he's been involved in the passing game. The issue is they're probably going to run a 3-man rotation at running back because they're, and he's probably not going to see a ton of goal line work.
Right. They called up Howard from the practice
they called up Jordan Howard, and Boston Scott is going to be involved. But he comes in at 5K, which is a nice price. He's going to be involved. He had a decent snap share last week, which is encouraging. So I feel comfortable with the play, but like you said, would it surprise me if he was a dud? No.
Right.
The good news is he should be pretty chalky, which gives you that little bit of safety.
I was just about to say, if you're looking at our cheat sheet on the website, we got Kenneth Gainwell coming in around 15% ownership. the big dog, the chalkiest player of them all is Henderson coming in at 20. And then you got DeAndre Swift in the middle there at 17. And then a couple of these other guys also hover around that top ownership spot. So, if that's going to be the case, and this is a cash game, keep in mind it's not GPP, so you don't need to break the mold. It's all right if the guy duds and most of the people own him, because you're not really trying to get first. You're trying to get just that top 50%, however big your pool is. So, total agreement there.
Yep, and I do like Elijah Mitchell as well. One of your Sanford boys, he appears to have taken that job. I mean, that's clearly his. So
he's playing well. I mean,
he is.
So Jonathan Taylor's been getting a lot of love, right? And him and Eli Mitchell had very similar numbers last week on that shit show of a game. But like, in terms of like, everybody's looking at Jonathan Taylor, his price point is usually in like the 7,000s. They were very comparable last week. So if you were playing like a showdown slate or something like that, and you could have had leverage there if you went Eli over him. And I'm not comparing the two exactly, but I'm just saying like he is a guy for 5-4. He can produce, and you're not really going up to that top tier level of payment.
Yeah, I kind of landed on him in some builds this morning, and I was pretty comfortable with the play. A couple quick FanDuel notes. Joe Mixon is underpriced on FanDuel, and Alvin Kamara it's rare to see a player be cheaper on FanDuel than DraftKings. Alvin Kamara is one of those cases today. He's actually 8-4 on FanDuel compared to 8-7 on DraftKings. He went nuts last week. I talked about it in the top plays. He started to fall back into what he was last year, which was running back 1 and wide receiver 1 for their team. He literally is seeing like 8-9 targets a game plus 15, 16 rushes a game. So you're getting elite touches from Kamara here. Yes, it's a tough matchup against Tampa Bay, but I think we see him out of the backfield catching the ball a ton, probably sees 10 targets today. So
where else are they going over there?
Exactly. So I really like Kamara over on FanDuel. He's going to be chalkier due to that price discrepancy. Again, you don't see it very often on FanDuel. So when you do, it's typically going to lead to ownership for a guy who is, that rare instance where he's cheaper on FanDuel than DraftKings. And then just really quick, 2 names I like at low ownership, probably more GPP. Damian Harris, New England gets the Chargers team that's surprisingly giving up 162 yards per game on the ground. Big part of that was, they played teams like the Browns and the Ravens, running teams, but still, Damian Harris has been pretty consistent this year. And then, I don't mind taking a shot on Boston Scott for 4-4 on DraftKings as a punt option. He's going to be involved. That's super, super cheap for a running back. Probably a little risky for cash, but for GPP, I certainly like that play.
Yep, absolutely.
Guys, Calvin Ridley's out.
Oh, wow.
Okay. That changes stuff. Miz from the clouds. They can't see you online, but yeah, that's actually pretty big breaking news there. Actually, a lot of people liked Calvin Ridley this week because of his price point. Having said that, let's jump into wide receiver and see if that impacts any of our decision making here. So, got to say it right up front: most expensive wide receiver on the slate, most expensive player on the slate
on DraftKings.
On DraftKings, Cooper Kupp. What a long way he's come since week 1, since we were pumping him up. We've been pumping him up since the preseason. Not that that's a rare thing. Like, Cooper Kupp is good. But he's actually like really good at this point, right? Where, he's putting up, and this is not me like making things up here. He is putting up like Jerry Rice-like numbers for this specific season. Please do not misconstrue that as I'm comparing him to Jerry Rice, but he is putting up similar numbers. So it's really hard to fade Cooper Kupp. However, he is coming in at $9,000 on DK. I don't know what to do with that. $9,000 for a receiver is a lot.
And the issue is now we're going to have to probably get Pitts in there, obviously, now with the Ridley news, because he is going to be the number 1 option. So I'll have to see what our builds look like if we can get Pitts and Cooper Kupp in there. But listen, we talked about it all season. Literally from week 1, we talked on the show before the show about how Matthew Stafford historically picks one receiver and he throws that dude the ball all the time. And that has been Cooper Kupp. 11.57 targets per game, tops in the NFL, 9 touchdowns, tops in the NFL, 809 yards on the season, which is insane. That's a good season for some people. And he's done that in 7 weeks. 115 yards per game. If you can get Cooper Kupp, get him. He's been unstoppable. Matchup's phenomenal. Nobody can guard him because his route running is just, arguably the best you're ever going to see. You're definitely up there. So Cooper Kupp, obvious. Behind him, Chris Godwin. Really got to like Chris Godwin this week. Mike Evans is going to be up against Marshawn Lattimore. They have I would argue it's the best individual rivalry in football. Many people may not realize it, but what happened is Mike Evans had a cheap shot on Lattimore a few years ago. Lattimore took it really personally, and literally Lattimore plays his best game of the season every year against Mike Evans. Last year, I believe he was held to 1 catch for 3 yards. It was a touchdown, but still only 1 catch. So there's some hatred there, and it really has brought out the best in Lattimore when they play. So I really like Chris Godwin with Antonio Brown out, and Mike Evans seeing a really tough matchup. Certainly got to like Chris Godwin, especially at his price, very cheap. I did like Calvin Ridley. Get rid of that. A name I really like.
Jamal Williams is out.
Jamal Williams is out.
Yeah.
And we got lots of news coming in here. Miz hitting everybody with the news here. But AJ Brown. AJ Brown's a guy I talked about on the show before the show. Julio's out. It's a good matchup for AJ Brown. Indy defense is decent, but AJ Brown's been awesome the last about 6 quarters. He's really come on, looking like his old self. He had limited snaps this week, but that's every single week with him. So certainly like AJ Brown. Michael Pittman Jr.'s guy I really like. He is the only deep threat now with Paris Campbell out and whatnot. So there's a lot of these guys in that same range. Cooks, Devontae Smith. Over on FanDuel, another one of those pricing discrepancies, and this is a big one. Stephon Diggs is $800 cheaper on FanDuel than he is DraftKings. That's going to drive his ownership way, way up. You're going to have to play Stephon Diggs at that price. I mean, that's ridiculous to be $800 cheaper on FanDuel than DraftKings.
On FanDuel.
On FanDuel, yep. He is a FanDuel pricing play. That's a huge discrepancy. We don't typically see one that big. So certainly got to like him. I'll be building around him over on FanDuel.
And just to clarify, just for people watching who may not catch what you're saying, when you say discrepancy, you're looking at the 2 sites, and if there is a large difference in the price, you're leaning towards the lower priced option there because there is some sort of discrepancy or variance that's not being accounted for.
Yeah, that typically is pointing to something, the algorithm may be being a little bit off on a guy when you see a big gap like that between the 2 sites.
What'd you say over there, Miz? He's like foaming at the mouth to get on chirping.
It just makes this slate better. That's all.
Yeah. So you said it was Jamal Williams out, right?
Correct. So DeAndre Swift.
Yep. So even bigger. Oh, that's a big. Wow. This is becoming an interesting slate. Yeah. So you really got to like DeAndre Swift now.
And let's go back to that real quick. The price on DeAndre Swift. He was not really one of the lower price guys because he has been playing well. So he is in the 7s, which makes it tough. It's going to be very difficult to start one of these expensive quarterbacks along with DeAndre Swift, along with Cooper Kupp. So you're going to have to get creative here in your cash builds, or really truly punt a couple of position players. Yeah,
this slate's kind of changing in a hurry, but that's okay.
This is why we do the show live.
Exactly.
And it's called Live Before Kickoff. So this is what we're here for.
Yeah. So the news we've gotten, big boost to Swift and obviously Kyle Pitts. So so what might have to happen is you might have to come off of Cooper Kupp if you want to, prioritize some of this news.
I was on the fence with Cooper Kupp anyways, and this just kind of pushed me over that. I'd rather take maybe a Chris Godwin and an AJ Brown, who are both in the 6s, and try and get creative. But now with DeAndre Swift, I don't even know if I can do that, especially with 6,300 on DraftKings. So we'll see. I don't know where I'm going to land just yet, but it'll be interesting.
I'm going to play around with some builds while you guys are doing the GPP section, and we'll see. But let's swing over to tight end really quick. Obviously, the big news, Kyle Pitts now should be the premier option for this offense. It is not the greatest matchup in the world, but this dude's really coming into his own. What was 163 yards last week? 2 straight over 100, 3 straight over 50. The targets are finally there. I mean, this dude's unreal. We talked about it a lot on the show before the show. You all know the deal with him. If I'm not playing Kyle Pitts or with Kyle Pitts, because we talked about it again all season, the willingness to the double tight end feels a little bit weird, but
let's get weird.
You could do Kyle Pitts at tight end today, and on DraftKings, punt with that flex with a tight end. Dan Arnold comes in at 2.8, good match against Seattle, looking like the chalky option, or the pivot that I provided and talked about the other day, and Tommy Sweeney at 2.9. I really like his FanDuel price.
What a sexy name. Look at these names on this board here.
Tommy
If
Sweeney.
you would have told me 8 weeks ago, we'd be talking about Dan Arnold and Tommy Sweeney.
Right.
And even Ricky Seals-Jones. I feel like, what are we doing out here?
Yeah. So yeah, this is the week. Don't hesitate. You want to do Kyle Pitts, treat him as a receiver at the tight end spot. And then you can totally use one of these punts at tight end. You're going to need that salary.
And what Devin is saying, if some people are a little confused, on our weekly show, the show before the show, what we do is we break down the winning cash and GPP lineups for both DraftKings and FanDuel. The cash lineups that we break down and take a look at the optimized lineups, which is like the lineups that have put out the most points for that given week based on our cheat sheet. More often than not every week, but a lot of times there is 2 tight ends in that tight end and flex spot, which, like Devin said, it feels weird. It feels weird. I'm even a person that really rarely ever comes around to doing that, especially in cash. But hey, if you got to jam guys in, you got to jam them in, right? So get creative, tinker around, make multiple lineups, and ultimately go with your gut. But don't be afraid if that gut says, I like this one with Tommy Sweeney in the tight end spot.
Yeah. So Dan Arnold, Tommy Sweeney, if you want to punt a position. For those who missed it, Tommy Sweeney, Knox is out. Knox has been fantastic for Buffalo this year. Buffalo runs the fewest double tight end sets in the NFL, which means, we don't have to worry about another tight end kind of squeezing in on Sweeney here. He's going to be the guy on the field. He's going to see a decent snap share. He caught his first touchdown last week when Knox got hurt. So don't be surprised if he, catches a touchdown this week. I don't expect a huge game from him, but
like such an all-American name. I feel like
it really is. It cracks me up. So that's a tight end. Real quick, we'll hit on defense. You know the story. Never prioritize defense. I think DraftKings is pretty straightforward today. Per usual, take a look at some of these punts on the board. I think Washington's going to be popular. Obviously, Miz likes the Denver stack, and I'm with him on that. But that's super cheap for a team that has the ability to pick up some sacks. Outside of them, if you wanted to, just see where you land. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what defense to play because, again, do not prioritize defense. Build around everything else. See where you land.
Yep. And once again, before we bounce over to Miz here, breaking news that we got while we were talking about this: Calvin Ridley is out. Somebody threw that in the chat there. Thank you very much. And also Jamal Williams on the Lions is out, which boosts DeAndre Swift value. All right, Dev. Thanks. We'll bring you back in a little bit when we do some recap. Let's bring in the voice from above here, live from, it looks like, the lobby of Hotel Mislinski in Maryland. What's up, dude? How's it going?
Shit. Well, I appreciate it. I'm just trying to break the news from the clouds, from the heavens for our lineups.
Yeah, maybe if we got on a little bit earlier, you could gave us a number on your piano there.
You don't want that. All right. So the first one that we're going to go with today is the Denver Broncos and the Washington Redskins game. I really like Bridgewater at a cheap price, as Devin said. Out of 5 out of 6 healthy games that he's played, he's thrown 33 or more times, and that's led to 19 and a half or more points in 4 of those, and all at super cheap price tags. So that's something that you really love to see, and can really open up a lot on the rest of your lineup. Jerry Jeudy coming back only adds another weapon, and Cortland Sutton leads the league in air yards, if you can believe that or not. Teddy Bridgewater is really not a check down dude, even though he wears a glove and has a really big helmet. But going up against the Washington football team that we've talked about all year. They're so bad on the back end. It's insane. They do have a good pass rush. You would think that would actually help the back end. I can only imagine how bad they would be if they didn't have Chase Young and company. But the Washington defense is good for cash. But then on the other side, McLaurin, I mean, the Broncos defense is not very good on the back end either, even though they've put a lot of money into it and draft picks. If you look, you can see that they've been absolutely torched by other receivers this year.
Their secondary has not been performing at all.
No, not at all. And look, they're not. They got beat by Henry Ruggs. So if Henry Ruggs can score a touchdown and put up a good game, anybody can. McLaurin all over the field, small, short yardage, medium part of the field, and then deep as well. So that's the stack that I like the most. And then moving on, we talked about Hurts. It's hard not to like Hurts. He's a 20-point machine. He's a 20-point man. Knock on wood. But, they don't have Sanders, not that they were using him correctly anyway. The Lions defense has been absolutely terrible this year. Not that they even care. They're just trying to play hard. So you have him plus Devonta Smith. Devonta Smith, one of the most touted receivers coming out in quite a long time, has been, a little bit of an up and down case this season, but against a terrible secondary, I love him to pair with Hurts if you're going to pair anyone at all. And then obviously, and this is probably not going to be, much of anything now, but Swift, you can run on the Eagles defense. And what happened last year, what everybody is carrying over in the last couple of years, doesn't apply anymore. They're not good against the run. He's going to get all of the touches nearly. There should be, I think there's a dude Jefferson that is the third running back there. He will get a little bit, but I wouldn't be scared off from the questionable tag. Swift played in every game, getting over 70% of the work. I can imagine that going up to the 80-85 range this week against a bad Eagles defense, which really looks to be a shootout. You can even add Khalif Raymond in there if you wanted to, or somebody like that.
Any love for Hawkinson?
Yeah, but I'd rather play Pitts.
Yeah, that's true, especially with the news that he's really going to be the focal point there.
Right, or I'd rather play Higbee, or I'd rather play Friday.
I know we're going to move into some one-offs here now. Any love on the GPP side for Cordarrelle Patterson?
I just don't know what to make of him, right? So it's like,
well,
the Panthers are good, but they aren't like real terrible either. Like, they're perfectly average, and they're going up against a perfectly average team on the other side.
Yeah.
It just depends how they use Patterson. If they're going to use him more like in the slot and that type of thing, definitely. But I'm not sure how they're going to do it today.
I'm just thinking, like, who are they throwing the ball to?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely gets the bump. Yeah, he definitely gets the bump. But in terms of price considered, play, I'm not completely positive I would, go after him or like, try to make room for him. Got it.
Who else do we like as a one-off here on some of these GPP plays?
Well, Joe Mixon going up against the Jets. CJ Mosley is back. So that does tick that down a little bit, but the Jets gotten scored on 11 times this year on the ground. I mean, that's absolutely dreadful.
Mm-hmm.
Mixon in a great spot yet again. Nobody's playing Derrick Henry. The Colts have a good run defense, but this is when I like to play Derrick Henry, is when nobody's trying to play him.
This is when you gotta play him when nobody's playing.
Totally. And then James Robinson is a great play, totally under-owned, getting a ton of the work, and that's a sneaky shootout game too, if you read my article.
Yeah, I mean, that Seattle defense can't stop anybody on the ground. And James Robinson, it's still the same. For everything that we loved about James Robinson last year, the amount of snaps he's getting, the amount of times they run the ball, like, he's still getting similar numbers. I mean, the Jaguars are awful. Nobody's debating that. But as far as James Robinson goes, he's still getting that burn, and he's up against a shitty team in Seattle. They have no wide receivers with DJ Chark out. It definitely makes a lot of sense to at least throw him in a couple of lineups if you're playing multiple GPPs.
100%, absolutely. And then at the receiver position, really love Jamal Agnew. This dude.
Yeah. Speaking of shitty Jacksonville receivers, I'm not saying he's shitty, but I did just segue to James Robinson with the shitty Jacksonville receivers. But we're gonna go right back to that well.
This dude is getting used all over the field. He's lining up in the backfield. He's lining up out wide. He's the punt returner. He's the kick returner. Urban Meyer is like drooling over this dude and his press conferences. Actually, I'm not really completely sure why. He's been pretty good. He's gotten 13 targets the last 2 weeks, 11 catches, I believe. Against Seattle's defense that we've seen this year be really bad on the back end, and let up, points in bunches. I actually think Jamal Agnew scores, and if you can bet that, I probably would. Though, depending on what your unit size is.
Like FanDuel or something, you probably could bet him to score. The Barstool app, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I wonder what those odds are. They're probably astronomical.
Right. It's probably like plus 2,000, which would be amazing.
Yeah. I was going to say it's probably also limited to like a $200 bet. Not that you should be betting more than that on Jamal Agnew to score. Okay. Anybody else? Any love for anybody else that we may have missed?
Nobody talks about Deontay Johnson except for me. So all this dude does is get 12 points or more every week that he plays and is healthy. So he's looking for some floor and, has upside.
Also, this is going to ruffle Devin's feathers, but that Browns defense does not look as sharp as we thought it would be in the beginning.
Injuries are banged up.
Yeah, we didn't get into reasons.
Hey, Jamal Agnew, PointsBet, which is one of our affiliates, plus 3,500 touchdown.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, that's first touchdown score. Hold on, let me see if they got an overall.
Tell me it's like 2,000. I'm betting
it. 650 for any time.
Damn.
650.
That's still good, but
yeah.
Yeah.
So 35 for first touchdown, 650 for any time.
Gonna bring Dev back in here.
I'm actually dual laptopping right now. So
there you go.
That's what's going on right now.
From anybody else.
And then one other one at the tight end position is Pat Freiermuth. Ebron's out. He's got to run all the routes now. So
yeah,
he's good. He's got a lot of talent. I like that call.
And then Higbee, if you want to get off Rams chalk.
If you're going to play Stafford, you got to stack him, right? Targets. Yeah. All right. Well, let's recap real quick. We are coming to a close here soon. So correct me if I'm wrong on the cash side, Dev. Pay up option, obviously Josh Allen. We like him this week. It sounded like you were leaning towards Jalen Hurts. And then if you want to pay down, you can look over at Teddy B on Denver. Sure. On the running back spot, my notes are a little bit irrelevant now because we got different news. But it does seem like we're sticking with Darrell Henderson. I mess that name up every week. We're sticking with Henderson. We did like Gainwell and Eli Mitchell, but now with the news that Jamal Williams is out, we like DeAndre Swift, so we would probably want to try to get to him if we can. And then on the wide receiver front, we got no Calvin Ridley, which we weren't really looking at as a cash option. If anything, that just boosts our tight end spot with Kyle Pitts. We're going to try and jam him in. Obviously, we always love Cooper Kupp. If you can get to him, great. But given everything I just mentioned, it doesn't sound like you're going to be able to very easily without sacrificing somewhere else. We also liked, for what it's worth, Chris Godwin and A.J. Brown on the cash side. And then tight ends, again, I mentioned Pitts. And then a name that probably nobody really knows, Tommy Sweeney on Buffalo. And we had our justification. It wasn't just because, Knox is out.
Read the article. I went pretty in depth on it on the top plate article.
We do have some educated decisions behind that. It's not like pulling things out of thin air. So yeah, that was our cash recap. On the GPP side, we got Miz focusing on the Broncos Washington football team game. He likes Teddy Bridgewater with Jerry Jeudy and running it back with Terry McLaurin. And he also likes the Eagles Lions matchup. Some of the stacks and runbacks that he mentioned are Jalen Hurts, Devonta Smith, and running it back with DeAndre Swift. And then a couple of other sprinkles of Jamal Agnew, maybe some Joe Mixon, Deontay Johnson, some names that kind of popped off the charts at him. Anything else that I missed before we jump into PrizePicks?
Nope.
All right. Well, let's get into it. Guys, we mentioned it before. PrizePicks, if you don't know what it is, it's a pretty cool site where you can wager on not only prop bets for games, but actual fantasy points as well. It's not widely available in all states, but in the states it's available in. It is pretty nice to change it up a little bit. Head over there now, sign up with code YFC. The lines move pretty quickly, so if you see something you like, hop on it immediately. They do tend to sway back and forth as the lines change. So, guys, anything on the PrizePicks front today that you like?
Yeah, in terms of a rushing touchdown, I would like Robinson, most definitely. And then Joe Mixon, like talked about, the Jets have been absolutely gashed by running backs on the ground this season for touchdowns.
Yeah, I love the rushing. I love touchdown props too. So I'm with you on those. Damian Harris has a touchdown in 3 straight weeks. Give me the Damian Harris over half a rushing touchdown as well.
Yep, and they got the Chargers this week. I think that game will be a little bit more high scoring. Everybody always talks about, although Mac Jones on the road, who knows? But everybody talks about this New England defense as if it's 2019, and they do give up points. So I think that game could be a sneaky shootout for what it's worth.
Yep. Let's see here. I think you gotta. Well, he's only got one on the air. If you like Godwin, again, I talk about this with PrizePicks and DFS too. You can kind of pair together the guys you like. So, if you're super high on Godwin, you could consider the over half a touchdown on him as well. Things like that.
Teddy B over 1.5 touchdowns.
Yeah, easily.
Oh, I like that. That's a nice one. I would jump on that. I'm currently in New York, so I don't think we can actually play it in New York.
Nope, you can't.
But what we can do is talk about Vegas and betting lines, and we do that on the Wednesday show. So let's recap here real quick for everybody. You see on the board there, this is the Vegas odds. This is actually taken right off our website. It shows implied totals for the teams. This is a good strategy for people that are playing DFS to focus on those games that have higher totals or implied totals per team. That's usually what you want to target when you're picking your players. A little bit surprising here. I mean, not surprising, but a little bit of a note. Not many games are over 50 points total this week, just because I guess of the mismatches that we have. Not to be confused with mismatches, but as of Wednesday, when we took these lines, they may have changed. I have here written down, Miz, you took the Bucks -5.5 against New Orleans. You took the Broncos -3 against Washington, and you took the Vikings +1.5 against Dallas on Sunday Night Football. Sound right?
And Dak is probably not going to play.
Yeah, you might have lucked into that one.
I'm in a real shitty situation in season long because I have Dak as my quarterback, and I don't have a backup quarterback on my roster, and I don't know what to do because if I wait till 8:30 and he doesn't play, who's that backup that they have?
Cooper Rush.
Man.
I might as well just light my money on fire this week if I'm playing. He might be the worst quarterback in the league. Now that our JMU guy is not there. Danucci. But yeah, so anyways, those are Mrs. picks. Just so we recap, you did go over 3 last week and you are 8-12-1 on the season in case people would like to know. Dev, I got you at Buffalo -13.5 against Miami. You took Cleveland, surprise, -3.5 -3.5 against Pittsburgh, and then you went against Miz straight up Dallas -1.5.
Yeah, which
against
now that
Minnesota.
one.
But
So Miz
if
got
Dak
lucky and got
doesn't
unlucky.
play, I'm sorry, but that one's probably not going to work out.
Yeah. Can I get a
And then,
mulligan on that one?
Yeah, exactly. You actually have the best record out of all of us. You are 10-10-1. Just a glistening record there. But good for you. On my side, I got Cincinnati -10.5 against the Jets. I don't think there's ever been a time I've bet for or against the Jets where they have done me well. So that probably will lose. I have Seattle -3.5 against the Jaguars. They should really beat that team, even with Geno Smith. And then I have Tennessee +1.5 against Indy. Those are my picks. My record is 9-10-1. We will recap these picks and make people feel awful on Wednesday's show. Be sure to tune in next week, guys. Is there anything else here? It looks like we did it. It's 12 on the nose. Plenty of time to jam in those lineups. Plenty of time to get your slate right. Plenty of time if you are a YFC member to ask your questions in the Discord channel and get that advice and just kind of bounce some questions off of the group here. Anything else, guys, before we sign off?
That's it, man.
Nope, just cheat sheet will be updated with all this news. So definitely keep an eye on that as the industry readjusts to some of these big changes to the slate. So keep an eye on that.
Yep. All right, guys. Well, that does it for week 8. Good luck to everybody. Let us know in the channel if the advice is paying off and you guys are winning. We'd love to see the winning lineups when they happen. So feel free to dump those in. And like I said, head over to Your Fielder's Choice and check us out. Lots of great content. We will be back next week live, same time, same place, 11 a.m. Look out for our Wednesday or, we release on Friday show, the show before the show. Again, I'm the host. These guys are the experts, and we will talk to you next week. Peace out, everyone.